What is up, you savages? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast. I'm your host, Dan Tom. Analysts is work you can find over at MMA Junkie as well as linemovement.com. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high-level MMA, and that's what we're going to do here today, tonight. Whenever you're listening to this, hopefully it's before the fight, recording this after the weigh-in, shortly after West Coast Pacific time, where the fights are not. That's right, second week, second time in this pandemic era. They are back at Yas Island in Abu Dhabi for UFC on ESPN 16, home versus Aldona, which I'll be breaking down from top to bottom. You can check the timestamps for when that starts as per usual, and I will be recapping my picks and plays as per usual. And if you're listening on YouTube, give it a like. Give the video a like, even though it's not much of a video product for these breakdown shows for the most part, as you know. However, it does help the show, and I will be posting more interviews. Got one that I recorded for the UFC Origins doc, was much better than I expected. Don't want to say too much. We'll talk about that more. We'll be releasing that episode probably next, maybe for some Sunday listening. But on this episode, it will be the breakdown show, so check the show notes. Going to try to make this an expedited version, as I see someone else, I believe it was the Scouting MMA account. I can't keep track because so many of y'all have called me out for it, and rightfully so when I say expedited edition. Check the time elapse. Because, you know, Dan Tom sometimes goes long. Like, for example, I don't want to say I got my last show out early because it was actually on time, as it should be. It was a big numbered event, right? I got it out on Thursday. It wasn't an expedited edition. Nevertheless, I looked at the time, and I actually did a shorter show for the non-expedited editions than, like, all my last three expedited editions. So, to your point, talk your shit. It's justified. I love you guys, nevertheless. Thank you for joining me here. Going to be a couple quick notes, couple quick shots off the top. No recaps, so that'll spare you me some time, I should say, right? Because I already recapped UFC 253 after party edition on my YouTube channel. Thank you all for joining me live after the fact. Or if you were like Ryan Wagner MMA and just gif me doing the jerk off gif. Kind of appropriate that the first time Dan Tom gets gift is is something to do with the dick. So I'll take it. That's par for the course. But thanks, Ryan. I was actually already going to shout Ryan Wagner MMA for possibly making me, forgive the pronunciation, Akihisa fan, Kyokushin kickboxer. Listen to the old 8 Limbs podcast over there on the Fight Site feed. But, you know, Canadians being Canadians and their conspiracy to make me like them more, got to go out of their way to do funny stuff like that. I don't know if he's officially part of their crew or not, but let me also just shout out my notes as I work my way down to the home Aldona breakdown at Jabzuda, who's an Aldona fan. You know what? Page note that. Let me get to that here in a second. But yes, folks. Thanks for that on YouTube. Subscribe, by the way, to my channel there, Daniel Tom MMA. I know I got to get it changed over to Dan Tom MMA. The guys over at Line Movement keep on me about that, but I mean that endearingly because, man, from Jordan especially, but B Park, everybody over there, James, the man who's been filling in when we need over for the Line Movement MMA betting show. That's hosted by Dan Levy, co-hosted by myself, and we break things down every Wednesday, but you guys don't see it till Thursday morning, so go follow them. It's definitely a nice appetizer if you're a listener of mine, you know, to kind of get my earliest takes, and I also write down my best or favorite bets, or, you know, an amalgamation of both when I don't want to use as strong of a word for cards like this, which are pretty sparse in spots. We'll talk about that, but regardless of what the card looks like, I will post my thoughts on it from a betting perspective over at linemovement.com. So follow them at linemovement_ or line_. Movement. Coffee still coming up a bit this morning. Also want to shout out people who support me and my site, mixedmartialanalyst.com, the host of this here program, which runs everything for the studio, that runs the YouTube channel and all that stuff. It's all DIY, all done in-house. Do it yourself. Wow, I just kind of did it off the top of my head. I always knew the do it yourself part. Either way, it's the punk hardcore way. It's burning me out at times, especially on weeks like this. I was another week where I was questioning my own sanity. But then, you know, from finding the love in work to finding the laughs online, like I just shouted out, to just people who go above and beyond, Robert G, I'm going to spare your last name for privacy. I don't think I got an okay to get a shout out or not, so we'll just leave you at Robert G. I know he's a fan of the podcast and shared nice words before. More than enough. I mean, just knowing that I help you all out as far as, plays, insight, or entertainment goes is more than enough. But for whatever reason, Robert G wanted to go above and beyond, like many of you have done, which I'm surprised that I can honestly say that, and that's just amazing. I'm surprised because I have low expectations. Clearly, there's not low self. There is no self-esteem here, so it still blows me away that people even listen, much less donate to the PayPal link at mixedmartialanalyst.com. Thank you for that generous donation, sir. Anyone who wants to support the show, I guarantee you, as you can see, hopefully here, the money does go back into the show here. It is greatly appreciated. And yeah, man, especially as, independent contracting media, we're pro fighters' rights for a reason, because we relate a lot with them as far as their positions. So, thank you for supporting our work at the places that employ us. We appreciate that, but as far as non-leveraged work and work that we can see immediate benefit in is the independent work, or the independent portions of our work, aka the podcasts of the other media members you listen to. You like them, do the same for them if you're not already doing it. Make sure you're supporting those independent projects as well, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because it's definitely felt. All right, let's push on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Ray. All right, sorry, Dan. We're not doing a Jim Morrison impression for your followers, so we're checking things off the list, to drive listenership, right? All right, so we got Home Aldona on the top of this card. Holly Holm minus 115, Aren Aldana plus 105, minus 105, plus 100, depending on what houses you're looking at in that neighborhood, right? Was able to grab Aldona at plus money. I'm not saying that like I'm excited, like I got some jump, that I've got Willy Wonka's golden ticket, because this fight is close for a reason, folks. Although you could argue dog or pass, it's definitely the side that I fall on. I'm not even going to go as far and say that. I'm not going to tell you to put money on either side. That being said, like I alluded to, I'm a big Aren Aldana fan. I'm a big fan. Dan Easy, like my man over there at Jabzuda, the funny motorcycle edit of her on a motorcycle, and I was laughing because I too am a fan of Aldana, like my man over there, and I too was like lurking those pics. Hey, I'm not lurking. I was researching. Let me rephrase that. Researching for the article, the podcast, folks. I always look at their Instagrams. But yes, I did. I'd be lying if I said Aldana gained some points seeing her on the motorcycle. I was just like, wow, this is I mean this in a positive term, folks. Ladies out there, I don't mean this in a negative. That's a badass bitch right there. That is a badass bitch, and I mean that in the complete respect, punching up, putting up way possible. I don't mean that in a negative. She's just a badass bitch. Boy, Jabzu, try to keep your pants on here, but one of Dan Tom's kryptonite is Colombian girls, or like Latin girls in general. I know Aldana is Mexican, but I'm a fan of her as well as her stablemate Alexa Grasso, and I don't know why, but I'll share this, like especially with the Jabzudas of the world. Your boy goes out to the Bellator Hawaii shows, and like I don't know what connection any of these girls have with Bellator. Maybe does Pearl fight for them now? I don't know, but Pearl Gonzalez was out there, right? Which I know, fan as well, right? She's awesome. But with her is Alexa Grasso, and Aren Aldana. And when I wasn't looking over, speaking of Colombian kryptonite, how about Alejandra Lara? Oh my goodness. Anyways, they all showed up to weigh in. And again, these girls, I don't even know if they fight for Bellator. I know that obviously Aldana and Grasso doesn't, but like they all show up to the Bellator weigh-ins looking like they're about to get on the scale because they got, like short jean shorts, booty shorts, and just like bikinis on. And I'm just like, Latin girls in bikinis in Dan Tom's home backyard of Hawaii? Like, what is going on? Like, 'cause you don't see like Mexican anything in Hawaii, folks. Like, I remember going out to eat with my more well-to-do side of the family. Like, we're going somewhere exotic tonight. I'll brag. I'm like, okay, whatever, insert Dan Tom jerk-off gif. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go somewhere exotic. Like, listen, we're going somewhere really, really fancy. And it was like a Mexican joint like that you have like every fucking 4 blocks here in Las Vegas, right? And I was like, what is this? They're like, this is the only place you can get burritos on the island. I'm like, what the heck? Because I didn't realize, since I've been moved away from there for so long, yeah, it's right. Like the least probably, wow, this breakdown's really going off the rails. The least popular race is like anything Latin and Hawaii. Like you'll see more black people, and they're probably half of them are Samoan, granted. But no, just kidding. No, like you'll see, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't see a lot of Mexican anything. So my mind was just being blown on many levels and layers, and yeah, Dan Tom had to snap out of it. I was like Richie Gecko from Dusk Till Dawn. Like, Richie? Juliette Lewis just asked for the keys for the car, but he hears something completely different. That is Dan Tom. All right, enough outing yourself, but yeah, hopefully Jab Zuda's pants are not on his roof by now. But yeah, biased stated, wow, in such a way. This is an early morning one, so Dan Tom is sober as shit. Like, I have no excuse for this. I'm sorry, folks. But that reason aside, no, I do like Aldona here. I like her boxing style. I love me some Mexican fighters, men and women. All right, we're not. Let's keep it back on the rails, Dan. Let's keep it fair. And she has a lot of those stylings that are stereotyped with her region. However, she didn't like come up boxing or anything. I was kind of surprised. Like she's kind of the more typical. Like I took a kickboxing class to stay in shape, and just happened to be one of the more equipped and female catering female MMA gyms that I joined to get in shape. Lobo MMA, where of course Aldona is, or not Aldona, Alexa Grasso is, and yeah, Dan, stay on target. But yeah, no, she actually came up doing jiu-jitsu a lot too. She earned some decent accolades, even though I kind of said she had no notable accolades. She earned some, but again, Mexican regional scene, but still it shows she's entering competition, she's getting after it, and she's winning. She's an athletic girl. She, did track, I think soccer. So she's always been an athlete, and she seems to really learn quick. You look at, kind of her trajectory. I didn't realize how fast she was thrown in there. Like about the time she popped up on my radar and Invicta, it was about the time she started her career, which I guess I never really put 2 and 2 together. As you can tell, I kind of went back and did a deep profile on Aldona, which tends to happen a lot of these times. Like when I come across one of the rare fighters who I haven't written a profile on because they haven't been on a, whether it's a female or a flyweight, they don't really get the main card, love a lot of the times or main attractions. So I haven't written anything Aldona, so I had to go back and run her through the whole proverbial comb, watch pretty much everything I could. And was pretty impressed, man. Ultimately, she has the counter right hand, which is what you need against Holly Holm, going back to Anne-Sophie Mathies in boxing, to wins like her split decision win over Rocky Pennington the first time they fought, to, of course, her losses, whether it's a southpaw and the check right hook, a shot that I called, again, not to pat myself on the back, one of those few breakdowns where you can read my Shevchenko home breakdown and it reads like I wrote it after the fight, but I said that check right hook's going to be there. Counter right hands have been there in general. We saw it with Germaine Durandamy, and of course, Amanda Nunes, who actually really effed her up with the high kick on the open stance side, messing her up with her own weapon. So I'll actually be curious to see if Aldona mixes those in. She usually, unless she's like mixing in the rogue spin kick, she's been really just adding in leg kicks that are deceptively effective. I think we're going to see a lot less of those based on this is going to be technically her first high-level southpaw in competition and Holmes' movement and style. So I think we'll see a lot less leg kicks. I'm curious if it'll affect her jab, as we know that it can unfairly affect that with that rule of thumb, whether we're talking about foot position, stance, matchups, etc. Let's see how well schooled she is and how, as far as her striking coaches told her. Because not so much her jab. I think Aldona's up jab's going to have a lot of play. It works. She seems to, take about a round to get in her groove, but once she gets the up jab going symbiotically, and play, in other words, she can play it off of, play it with her cross in combination. That's when, for me, that's what kind of what hallmarks that she's turned on. She's getting going, And off that specific flow, that high kick off the open stance can flow off of that. If she's feeling her groove, that'll be something to look for. Ultimately, it's going to come down for me to that counter right hand. And for Holm, it's going to come down to the clinch. Is this a matchup where Holm can actually rock somebody? Sure, Aldona's not beyond being rocked. Sure, she was stopped, early on, late in the rounds, early on in her career to legitimate competition in her first 2 5-round fights at bat. First to Larissa Pacheco in Jungle Fights, second to Tanya Evinger Invicta, a fight where she was fighting through the flu, by the way. But this is a different styles match. But yes, could I see Aldona slipping into a rogue head kick? Yes, that could happen. But unless Holm hurts her early, then I think she's really going to have to be showing clinch dominance early and often. She showed she could defend against Rousey, but since that Chris Cyborg fight, we've been seeing her take the clinch on her own terms, which isn't a bad move. As I sip some coffee there. Oh, oy vey. But it's not a bad move. And in fact, it kind of parlays into her point scoring sensibilities. And that's going to be interesting. I talked a bit about that in the breakdown. One thing I kind of left out or forgot to talk about, I guess, was Aldona. I like that she's active and she does good at separations. She's got good first layer takedown defense, which we did talk about. But I don't know how much Holm was going to be taking her down, trying to take her down as opposed to controlling her. And even though I like Aldona's activity, when she's not separating, she's striking. But when she's striking, she'll often elect to go from the tie plum, which I think will give kind of carte blanche to the underhook approach for Holm. And she could stymie there if that's the case. So that's something to watch out for. However, I am going to go with Ariane Aldana by decision. I do warn anybody going, as I outlined in the line movement betting angles article, anybody playing the decision or over props or those angles on this kind of a fight for hedging purposes or otherwise, because I could also see a finish, not just the rogue one from Holly, but I'm leaving the door open for Ariane Aldana to get a 4th or 5th round finish here, and start pouring it on from the 3rd round on. So that is something to look forward to. I don't think she tires. I think she'll have better cardio at this point of their careers. So let's see. It's an IQ test. I mean, Holly Holm has given enough patterns over the course of her career that you know what she's bringing. Can you stop it? So let's see. For plus 100, I was willing to take the shot. Good luck if you did. If not, Holly Holm is still at a bettable price if you're a believer and you don't like what I'm saying, which is totally cool. It's your money. Next fight. Boy, I believe I was one of the first people saying that last year that the co-main event has slowly died. And I give you Yorgan De Castro minus 220 versus Carlos Philippe plus 200. Forget co-main event. This is the Otter Pop special fight of the night, folks. Remember the Otter Pops thing? And then I posted that picture that went around. That was, of course, I chose to capture the physique of ice fisherman fighter Sergey Spivak versus Carlos Philippe, and those stellar bodies. Don't get me wrong, it's not too far from Dan Tom's current fitness level. Hey, actually, I think I'm down in weight. I think I dropped like almost over 5, but we're getting to the 10 pound mark. We're getting there. I mean, not if I keep missing freaking jiu-jitsu practices. Gonna go tomorrow. We're back in the gi, baby. Gi season. Got my Hamza Chimaev blue belt I've been working through. Let's work our way to purple, baby. All right. Dan, that's not the breakdown. Speaking of jiu-jitsu, Carlos Philippe, he didn't really show too much of it in his UFC fight. He's actually a state jiu-jitsu champion, although he doesn't list a ranking on his profile. But, you know me, I like Yaggin. Hey, Yaggin, get over here. Fucking Yaggin. You just put Yaggin in Goodwill Hunting, and just be like, Chuck, I had a double burger. Yaggin, I got your fucking double burger. Shut up. Chuck, I had a double burger. I used to piss off an old manager, and I would just repeat that all the time. Back in valet, when they used to shuttle all of us renters up to the garage and Caesars to bring all the cars down. It's like the damn court jester in there, and just the stories I could tell you. Dan, get back to the breakdown. Yaggin. That's what got me off. Yaggin De Castro. I think he's going to break Carlos Philippe. His tick legs. He's got some tick toys there. Speaking of tick, gonna maybe do a top 5 thick fighters episode coming up, bringing the top 5 episode back. All right, Dan. I know this fight's so horrible. I've gotten like ADD sidetracked like 7 times before I've really broken anything down. There's really not much to say. I'm not going to take any side here for the price. Jorgen actually opened at like minus 270 wider. Again, if you're going to be a heavyweight and opened north of minus 200 odds, you better show some proven skill. And I've not seen that from Jorgen, but I've seen more from Jorgen. By the way, how about shout out to at Lord Honky Humongous posting that reminder. How about Jorgen? He's got that deceptive amateur and Muay Thai experience. I didn't realize that in the amateur and Muay Thai bouts, he fought a Thick Willie. Jesus, Dan, take a shot. Thick Willie got mentioned on this podcast. Thick Willie is like the new UFC Fight Night 13 for old school listeners of this podcast. Like, I find myself segueing it somehow to every podcast. But yeah, Jorgen went 1-1 with Thick Willie, and he looked trim. It looked like Trim Jorgen. It was Trim Jorgen versus Thick Willie. It was quite the. God, I hope Tyson Chartier doesn't listen to my podcast. He probably thinks I'm fucking crazy. I'm gonna take Jorgen here. I don't know if the rumors were true that he's been training at the Jackson Wink, and if he got away from the New England cartel, if he's gonna have the principal in his corner. I was making fun of that unfairly. I thought it was awesome. I think it might have only been one time, but like this is a guy that has the travels with the principal in his corner. Is he gonna be back in his corner? Or is school back in with COVID? What's going on? I don't know. These are the intangibles that we're breaking down on. This is the level of co-main event, in other words, folks. We're talking about here. I'm gonna take Jorgen, but I think it could go long. This could shout out to the MMA Analysis Podcast. This could go fatty, as they say. Fatty's gonna fatty, as they say. All right, Juliana Pena plus 135. GDR Geraint Durandamy minus 145. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched after the bell. Damn, it's not fair. Poor Geraint Durandamy. She just got hosed by like Rogan and even like prominent media members who up until recently were just always bringing that up for the poor girl. But then she'll say things that really doesn't help herself. And I know she was saying some, somewhat controversial things about her Amanda Nunes loss that I saw posted around. But something I think we need to remind ourselves too is that fighters are just, dude, they got to tell themselves these things, man. There's no other way. So that's kind of why I don't really raise eyebrows anymore to what fighters say about fights or even about non-fights these days, right? I mean, as crazy as some of it is, it's kind of sad to say where my apathy is on this sport, but I'm not surprised. But yeah, that's definitely hits low on the radar. A fighter with ridiculous self-belief, you need that. So I don't know how much of it is a flag for me per se, but I'm not. But I still haven't played Durandamy. I may. The price is going down from the minus 150. I didn't like the minus 150. I liked more like the minus 135 range that I made another play on here. So we'll see. But basically, I just went back to watch Juliana Pena's last fight where I haven't seen her in a while. And I know Nico Montano gets talk shit on, and so she's going to be naturally underrated. And if you look at her skills, she's good at making fights ugly from the clinch, etc. But the fact that, and I know Juliana Pena won, but the fact that, like, especially that first round, that first half of the fight, she just looked so lost. She went for the damn head and arm throw and couldn't even got lost there. Like, the underhook battle, she seemed completely lost on. It was just really bad. I know that was her first fight, shaking off the rust, but, like, those things are really bad. Durandamy has good first layer takedown defense. You got to really catch her off guard in the open or chain against the fence pretty decently in 2s to 3s attacks. And I don't know if Juliana Pena can do that. And if she does, I don't know if she can finish her. Because say what you will, or let GDR say what she will about the Amanda Nunes fight. Speculate as you will. The fact is, Amanda Nunes is a badass, a judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. And, wasn't able to get the finish over 5 rounds in a fight where she was taking it to the ground quite some time, at least for her. Granted, she was playing more conservative, sure. Both parties. Which is that is what it can result in. But if GDR loses a round, I don't know if she necessarily loses the fight, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So for that reason, I'll take GDR. I don't know if she gets the finish, but I think she'll be able to counter Juliana Pena, who is very, very counterable. And Juliana Pena, she's got that, Latin toughness and chin, but GDR is definitely one of the hardest hitters at bantamweight. So I'm going to take GDR here. Don't blame anybody playing that side. Careful if you're playing the underdog. But if you do and it hits, you can tell me and everybody and rub it on our face, I'm sure. Dusko Tordovic, minus 340, and Quan Townsend, plus 310. Man, I think I saw a sad headline on my own site there, Junkie. I got to follow up on Quan Townsend. Like, his brothers got shot or something, like, recently, like in August. Fuck, man, how do you not root for that guy to do well, especially when he's on the Kadesi Bragimov skid, where he looks like he's about to take minus 4-0 or 0-4 because I'm taking Dusko here. I like Dusko's boxing and movement, despite being a Taekwondo guy. He parlays that bounce to an in and out. Kind of reminds me of a more sharper and more potent version of what's his name? Texas guy, great white shark, Alex Morono. But yeah, I like Dusko in Contender Series. Let's see, he's young. He could have improved in the time off. Not necessarily a bad thing. Although, yes, Townsend is technically the more active man, albeit losing. He's going back down to 185 where he should be fighting at, but I'm not sure it's going to help the speed equation. He's still going to be at a speed disadvantage, and enough to where I don't know if it's going to make a difference for his power. So I see Dusko Tordovic being able to pull away and get a stoppage here. I put him in a degenerate parlay that I listed for those who like to do that kind of thing on the Live Movement MMA betting sheet, not show. So yeah, Mita-san. Also on the betting sheet, Court McGee is now down to minus 125. Money coming in on fan favorite Carlos Condit plus 115. Don't blame that. I love Carlos Condit. People I love are on Carlos Condit. But this is a fight that you could argue that was deceptively tough for Carlos Condit to win stylistically. Brownie, stop chewing the thing. Stop it. Come here. Even in his prime. And when we look at his prime, it's like, man, where the heck did that thing go? I mean, outside of a doctor stoppage over Thiago Alves and a retiring on his way out, who he retired, Martin Kampmann. I love Martin Kampmann. That's not a diss, just saying what it is. I mean, then you got to go back over 7 years to Nick Diaz, 125. And then the last time he looked impressive before that was like, what, 2012, 2011? Or 2011? Yeah, like, wow, it's like, other than that, it's filled with losses. You could say you should have won the Lawler fight, sure, but man, even if you want to hang on to that, I think we could see that both of those guys aren't the same after that fight. And yeah, man, his constituents like Lawler or Woodley got, again, I'm not going to, out of respect, I'm not going to say it to Condit, about Condit, because I love Condit, but I'm sure you guys can read between the lines here. I'm not a guy who ever accuses fighters of ulterior motives, much less money being shot or calling a fighter shot. Like, I'm usually the last guy to kind of say these things, right? I don't got a good feeling about Carlos Condit, man. Let's just say that, talking about all the reasons. I was even watching the press conference, like all the reasons. And again, you can't take too, I just said, with the GDR, you can't take what these fighters say too seriously. That's true. But playing armchair psychologist, couldn't help but think that, like, when they asked, like, what's the importance of a win, and is it important to go out there and win at this point? So of course it's important to win, and it just felt like that very political answer, that the answer I'm supposed to give, like just the body language, everything I didn't like about it, And he brings out, he's like, winning affects a lot of things, which it does, right? He goes, it affects money, it affects a lot of things. I didn't like that money was the first and only thing he said, connecting with previous things, if you're reading between the lines here. He does look like he's making the real training rounds, BMF and Jackson Wink. He looks in great shape. These are great signs if you're a Carlos Condit fan, Heck, I saw signs of him early in the pandemic training in the garage with Brandon Gibson, which I know MMA gambler Lance Fishel likes, that garage grind, but Speaking of grindy guys who can grind, come forward, are durable and can hit takedowns like Court McGee, who could, unless you're really good, he's going to defend, defending takedowns with Carlos Condit isn't. Yeah, you can defend Court's takedowns. He's not a D1 level wrestler, but it's a built-in part of his game and has been for some time. He still goes for him. He still comes forward. And even though, he's been stopped and rocked a lot, he kind of always has been. And he's just got that durable come forwardness, even at his age, which, by the way, Court McGee, you're younger than Carlos Condit. Crazy, right? Carlos 36, Court 35. Now, Court not having as much training benefits, again, folks, an intangible I talked with Dan Levy on the Line Movement MMA Betting Show. People who train at big camps, who have to travel to it, necessarily don't have that big camp advantage in pandemic time, right? Even with things opening back up, people are still choosing to train at home. More power to them. So people like GDR who just are training like in their normal home of Amsterdam, they actually maybe have an advantage because nothing really changed for them. And so, but whereas Court McGee, who I'm on at minus 135, not as good of a line, he actually didn't train at Factory X for this one. He stayed back with Ramsey Nijum over there in Salt Lake City, SLC. So, he's done the majority of his career there. So, it's not like that's crazy. He's just got resources and training partners, but it ain't Factory X. So, we'll see if that makes a difference. He's still getting, some decent elevation over there. Being in Salt Lake, not as much, of course, at Factory X, but so we'll see. I'm going to take McGee to grind to a depressing decision. I wouldn't mind being wrong because I'm a fan of Carlos Condit. Have been since he upset Frank Trigg at Rumble on the Rock 9. Favorite fight of his, WEC 35 against Hiro Mitsumura. But man, I don't know. I can't bank on what I saw, and say what you will about McGee, he's dependable and fits the stylistic profile to get the job done. Kyler Phillips minus 460, Cameron Ilse plus 410. This fight's on the avoid list because I admittedly did not do any study on it. I do like what I seen on Kyler Phillips thus far. I was even watching some of the old clips of him online there. Again, shouts to the at Lord Honky Humongous there, at Mr. Honky. I was posting some. Really like this kid's savvy and the way he moves, man. One to watch for, which is why the line's high. I just can't say yes or no because I didn't watch Cameron Ace. I did put Charles Jourdain in that dumb parlay because I think he bounces back here against the scrappy Josh Kulabau. Josh will be fighting at his right weight, and hopefully he had somewhat of a full camp. He gave it his all. He could have gone out earlier against John and Mr. Turner, but he didn't, and now he's got Charles Jourdain. So let's see if Charles can hold it up for Canada. Jordan Williams, minus 125, versus Nasruddin Imavov, plus 115. This is on the avoid list as well. Didn't do any study on this. I guess I'll pick Williams, but for beating, Russian-sounding dudes before and his experience. But yeah, I've not watched the other gentleman. Sounds familiar though. Feels like I should know who he is. Loma Lukbang Mi, minus 150. Jinyu Fry, plus 140. I think Loma excels by having a girl similar to her size parity. She just has to watch the takedowns and the more MMA-savvy game of Fry, who is more experienced in the MMA arena. However, like others have said, she may have gotten here too late. As I will take Loma's clinch savvy and output, leg kicks. She can hit some trips and takedowns of her own. We saw her hit that on Angie Hill. So I'll take Loma here, but I'm reserved on recommending any kind of plays here because although I'm familiar with both, I didn't A, look deeply, and B, from what I'm familiar with, something has me kind of scared that this fight could be even closer than what the already close line is. So with that, I'll move on to Casey Kenny, minus 320. He actually came down, which kind of surprised me against Haley Alatang, plus 290. Figure people will be stereotyping China, which is the thing to do in many ways. Thank you, Tito Ortiz, for adding to that with your ridiculously stupid things that you keep putting out in the ether. Shouts to Bohai Chinyan Depot. But no, you can't underestimate Holly Alatang, even though I guess technically am, because I'm picking and listed Casey Kenny and wrote him up as playable chalk. However, yes, Holly Alatang is one of the better prospects to come out of China, if you want to call him a prospect, but better products. Come from Mongolian belt wrestling, but also he's got some freestyle wrestling on there. However, you could tell he fits more of the freestyle stereotypes as far as when he does hit takedowns, he's not getting a lot of control, but he's freakishly strong, so it does help him in his wrestling and scrambling, as well as his mean right hand, which will have an open pathway, being that he's got the open stance matchup against Casey Kenny, a southpaw. However, Casey Kenny's not an inept southpaw on his feet. I think he can manage, counter, and get in on his entries, where Casey Kenny's freestyle and Greco wrestling experience, as well as his judo creds and black belt, plus his Brazilian jiu-jitsu, makes him the better clinch wrestler, clinch fighter, mat wrestler, mat fighter, etc. I think that's where he's taking this fight. I think that's where he's winning this fight. Alatang maybe will be able to get a couple scares off, but Casey Kenny seems to recover well. He's got the cardio. He's got the experience. I just like him across the board. I think he's one of the safer parlay pieces. So I paired him with Charles Jourdain and Disco Todorovic for plus money. I think it was like plus 1.04 or something. So that's what I did, along with McGee. Well, I'll recap my plays with McGee and Aldona. No props I really like, but let me finish off by talking about a fight that my man Robert G requested. Yesin Ayari minus 120. Luigi Vendramini plus 100. Luigi Vendramini, I believe, opened as the favorite. Sorry, Mara Romero Borrero finally got cut, so I got to do a Italian swag somewhere, folks. Yeah, Luigi Vendramini opened at minus 175, and now he's plus 100. Yesin Ayari minus 120. Robert, I didn't give his identity. Hopefully he doesn't mind putting this out there, but he was interested. I don't know if he took it. In a play in Vendramini, who was still a favorite at the time. And my initial read, Robert, is actually not too far off after refreshing on recent fights, which you have to go back for both of them. Yesin Ayari hasn't fought since 2018 against Stevie Ray. Stevie, throw your kick, Stevie. He came away from with a close decision that, he could have argued, should have gone the other way. Or could have gone the other way at least. Whereas Luigi Vendramini had to take a fight up a weight class against Elizu Zaleski dos Santos at 170 short notice and got KO'd. However, looking at their stats, I actually do like Yesin here. Although I told some Vendramini supporters, if you're going to sprinkle on him, wait till he gets to a dog money. He is now at dog money, but that said, I did say even if you are going to wait for plus money, even at plus money, I wouldn't sprinkle a lot. It's a close fight. Luigi Vendramini is probably the better ground fighter. He's got the higher rank, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. However, Yesin Ayari doesn't appear to be a slouch. He's a Dean Lister brown belt. Comes from that Planet Eater gym. So he's pretty athletic. Seems like he's got good base and balance, moves well. So he's not the easiest guy to take down. Vendramini probably will have an advantage. He's a good back taker. It's fighting a guy more his size. However, Yesin Ayari is practically a welterweight too. I mean, this guy's a giant lightweight. So he may have trouble trying to wrestle him down, Vendramini, mate. So for that reason, I'll lean toward Yesin Ayari. Yesin Ayari's boxing style, he's got that counter pull right hand boxing style. I think he's going to do better against orthodox fighters. You could argue maybe he had trouble against southpaws, because southpaws tend to do the moves that he likes to do as an orthodox fighter better. Those kind of inside slip to right hand counters that he likes. Southpaws, especially like Darren Till, tend to be better at those. So you saw him struggle there. Yesin Ayari. And something to watch out for. I think he with a boxing centric stance, he doesn't check kicks very well, and I think even someone like Stevie Ray was able to land 40 kicks on him or something. So even though there's limited footage on Vendramini, and he could be a different fighter because he's young enough and it's been long enough too, I didn't see nearly enough kicks. He seems also to be more of a boxing centric guy. So if I want someone to beat Yesin Ayari, they better be a good wrestler and or throw a lot of kicks on the feet. I don't know if Vendramini is either of those, so I will go with Yesin Ayari. So be careful, Robert or anybody else who is interested in sprinkling a Vendramini. He does have a nice plus number by his name. You would be playing against the public for plus money, which, you know me, I'm always a fan of that. But be careful. It's a tight fight. All right. Let's see how we did on time. Not too bad. 40 minutes. Ha-ha. Take that. Expedited edition. All right, folks. Taking in Aldona. Easy, Dan. Easy, Zab. Or Jab. Suda. Taking Aldona over home. So I don't know where the fuck I took you guys on like the first two fights of this breakdown. Thank you for sticking with me. Taking Yagan over Otter Pops Philippe Carlos Philippe. Can't even say the names right today. Taking GDR over Juliana Pena. Taking Dusko Tordovich over Quan Townsend. Taking Court McGee over Carlos Condit. Taking Kyler Phillips over Cameron Else. Taking Charles Jourdain over Josh Culibao. Taking, I like Chasibao, by the way. Taking Jordan Williams over Nasruddin Imavov. Taking Loma Lukmangmi over Jinyu Frey. Taking Casey Kenny, oh my God, over Heli Alatang. I hope I'm not saying oh my God because that means Alatang killed Kenny. Taking Yesin Ayari over Luigi Vendramini. I parlayed Kenny, Dusko, and Jourdain for like plus 104, 1.04 or something like that. I took McGee straight at minus 135 for 1.5 unit. Put a unit straight on Aldona money line plus 100. No props. Not pulling any degenerate sprinkles on like a co-main event over or anything like that. Didn't play any props. Avoid Williams Imavov because I didn't watch anything on it, as well as Phillips else. Thank you guys. Make sure you hit up mixedmartialanalyst.com that supports this here program. There you can find click-throughs through Amazon and Onnit to do your shopping for both. I like Onnit's hemp protein. I don't like supporting Amazon, but it's kind of the age where we kind of have to. I know you guys all buy some stuff through there. So do me a favor at no extra cost to you. Go to mixedmartialanalyst.com. Go to the right, toggle to the right if you're on a mobile device. Click through that bad boy, one click, and you can go continue through, log in, do all your shopping at no extra cost. Small percentage goes back to this here podcast. Or if you want to keep it simple and sexy, you can go ahead and hit that PayPal donation like Robert G did and go ahead and donate straight to the podcast. Otherwise, 5-star ratings and reviews on iTunes, liking, subscribing to the channel on YouTube, Daniel Tom MMA, sharing that channel, especially sharing the show at the PYM Podcast, following it on all social platforms. Won't spam your feed, I promise. And I assure you it all helps immensely. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the listens. Thank you for the jokes and everything, man. It really helps me get through these tough and crazy weeks. I sincerely wish you guys the best this weekend. Good luck on your picks and plays. And always protect your neck.